In this interestingly lit video, I'm going to talk to you about a book about Palestine and a book about Congo that I feel like you absolutely must read. Like, these are books I would say are absolutely must read books you should be reading right now for you to understand more so the insidious nature about what is happening to the people of Palestine and the people of Congo. And I know there are many other genocides going on in the world, and I wish I could give you more books on all of them, but right now these are the only two that I've read about fairly deeply in Congo's case and quite deeply in Palestine's case. So a book about Palestine and a book about Congo. Let's start with the book about Palestine. The Palestine Laboratory is a book that really shows you the absolute evil of the atrocities being committed against the Palestinians, because not only are they annihilating Palestinians with these high-tech weapons, one of the big reasons they're using these high-tech weapons on Palestinians is because Israel is one of the biggest exporters of arms in the world. Israeli arms are some of the most advanced and most sought after arms in the world, and the Palestine Laboratory tells you why. And there's one big reason why. It's because Israeli arms are battlefield tested. Because a lot of other arms companies, they build these weapons, but they can't really test their new weapons on people because that's wholly unethical, that's evil. But in Israel's case, they are able to test their arms on the Palestinians. That's why you see Israel use such high-tech weapons in places like Gaza. Why Israeli guns are so high-tech when they're used against the people of the West Bank. It's because these massive companies in Israel that sell weapons to other countries in the world, even India, a place that is a motherland for me, buys like some of the most weapons from Israel, and they buy them because they are so high-tech, because Israel is able to use those weapons against real-life human subjects and then can take the data from the killing of Palestinians and use that in their pitches to other countries. They can use that in their pitch to India, being like, hey, we know that this bomb will destroy an entire building, here's the data for that. They'll say to the US, we know these guns are more effective at shooting people because we've tested it on Palestinians. It's absolutely abhorrent, and the Palestine Laboratory goes into really deep depth about how the arms are, tested on Palestinians and how that is used to sell at a greater cost to countries or private armies around the world. It's absolutely horrifying to see that Palestinian lives are being used as experiments by these massive Israeli weapons companies. And the book about Congo is Cobalt Red. It is a book all about telling us how the people of Congo are suffering to get cobalt. Cobalt that is a key component in all of our electronics, even the laptop, the television, the mobile phone you might be watching this on. Cobalt is a key component in the making of that device. And it's a investigative researcher who has gone to Congo, has gone to the regions where cobalt is most prevalent, where it is being most mined by people, and he is talking about the absolutely horrific conditions, the horrific way of life these people need to live because they're being forced into mining in unsafe conditions cobalt. Not just talking about grown men doing this. There are young children, there are the elderly, there are parents who may be feeble, who are malnourished, doing what's called artisan mining. So it's where mining is done by an individual, instead using just normal tools instead of using high-tech gear or drills and stuff that would be a machine to mine, because it's far cheaper to exploit these people at gunpoint, to subject violence on them to ensure that they are extracting as much cobalt as cheaply as possible for these mega corporations to use, the likes of Samsung, Google, Apple, a car manufacturer, the people in these mines, and there are conservative estimates, tens or hundreds of thousands, millions of people is probably the more likely answer, that have been or are being subjected to just disgusting, inhumane conditions to get these minerals that are used for our devices. And it's just the depravity that these people are being put through for capitalist gain, there's no other way to say it, is disgusting. And this is one of the very, very few books I could find on this subject. I feel like with the online community really now delving deep into what's happening in Congo, we'll have a lot more books on this either come to light, because this is a very recent book, this is this year more or less it was published. We'll have more books coming to light in the future, or older works that maybe are harder to find, might be more like research papers than books, or investigative journalism we can find that more people will have access to, because some of the stuff that Kada writes in this, it's hard to just wrap your head around, because it's not like we can see this happening. There's very few reports on this. There's very few journalists that have gotten photos of what's happening. Obviously, there was a man who set himself on fire recently to raise awareness so people will look at the abhorrent conditions that people of Congo need to live in when having to mine cobalt, because cobalt is such a valuable resource right now for these major corporations to create devices for all of us to purchase. And on this, honestly, if you can, try and buy secondhand or buy from a company that doesn't do this. There's probably very few that wouldn't. I've heard Fairphone is one that doesn't, use cobalt, or make sure their cobalt is ethically sourced, even though that's probably extremely hard to do. So if you can, try and buy secondhand. In the UK, back market seems pretty legit. I've not bought anything from there, but using the website, it seems like it is a legit website, and it does probably not lead to people being exploited as bad as purchasing a brand new phone. If you want a brand new phone, if you want the new iPhone 15, seeing someone's sold it on back market and you can buy it on there as opposed to buying it from Apple, you probably save a pretty penny as well, which is really good in this economy. Just even little things like that will help. So those are the two books, The Palestine Laboratory and Cobalt Red. They aren't easy reads, both from a just actual reading perspective. They're pretty difficult texts to get through, and also from a the subjects of the text are difficult to stomach in both cases, so not for the faint of heart. Obviously, if you can't read it, see if there's someone who would read it. Make sure to even spread to people to read these books, because I think they're very important texts to read. I'm not going to have links to the books down below, just because I'll be honest, I found it very hard to find these books online other than on Amazon. So I got the Palestine Laboratory from Bookmarks, the company I mentioned in a couple of videos ago, and I got Cobalt Red from a second-hand bookseller, which it was their last copy, so I can't really put it in the description because they were like a second-hand bookshop and it was their last copy of the book. So unfortunately I can't share the link for that, but be sure to try and get them from a bookstore or a second-hand bookshop if you can. If your library will have it, maybe they'll have it. I know you can request books in libraries. I've never done it before, but maybe you could do that. Depends how your library sort of functions. But thank you for watching. Be sure to go buy those books. I'll put links to MAP and some other charities for Congo down below, and if you can, please contribute to those.